and excited to introduce the top OG getaway earner. In fact, a guy that's taken Organo by the storm, taken the world by storm. Actually, he would probably prefer it's a storm of goodness because he's a powerful master of language. I call him the guru's guru. He's certainly creating ripples of positivity throughout the universe. I'm going to introduce greatness in a moment, Dr. Sachin Patel, or Sachin. We might discuss that too, because for your ability to speak the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth, you made some changes in your credentialing in the world, which, by the way, is it's just you. It's pure integrity. It's pure goodness. It's light to shine. One of my favorite conversations, just before we start talking Organo, I want to turn back the clock a number of years ago. You told such an impactful story where you had a little gap in even though you were doing epic work for a company, maybe they were a little behind on payments, and that maybe helped move your development along where maybe something as a challenging day became the best day of your life. So let's turn the clock back. I know you know what I'm talking about. Jump in and share that story.
Thank you, Dr. Bob. Well, first and foremost, I want to thank everyone for tuning in, and I want to thank you, Dr. Bob, for such a lovely introduction, and also for being such a great mentor and role model for all of us. You know, we really look up to you, and it's great to be in your presence and also, you know, share something, you know, beyond just our collective viewpoint on the world and the universe as a whole, but it's also nice to be partnered with you on this Organo journey, and it's just been super amazing. So first and foremost, thank you, and thank everyone for joining tonight. You know, going back to this story, it's a story I tell very often because I want people to understand that I know the struggle that people go through when it comes to finances. I know the struggle that people go through when it comes to careers. I know the struggle that people go through, you know, when they're just, you know, up against a wall or feel like they've hit rock bottom. And that's kind of what happened to me, or at least for up to this point in my life, that's been my, you know, kind of career rock bottom. I was working for a company and helped them, you know, successfully run two of their most profitable practices. And as a result of that, the punishment for me, or the reward for me, if you want to call it that, in the end, it was a reward, was that they were not paying me because they started expanding too quickly and making bad business decisions. And as a result of that, the revenues that my practice was generating, the two that I was running, were essentially funding the other practices, and started off as, you know, short pays, which meant, you know, they owed me a certain amount and they paid me a percentage of that, and then it carried forward to the next month and the next month. And then eventually it mounted up to, you know, $60,000. And I had to decide, you know, what was I going to do? And I had a conversation with a friend of mine, who's a dear friend, Sean, and we were in Hawaii at the time, and he said, you got to walk away, dude. Like, you can't do this because it's costing you your health. It's costing you your wealth because you're not making any. And essentially at that point, the company offered me shares in the company, and I realized, okay, this is going to go sideways or upside down pretty fast, and basically I had to walk away from it. And, you know, we always have choices. So I had two choices. I could go after them and, you know, sue them and hire a lawyer and all that good stuff, or bad stuff, if you want to look at it that way, or I could walk away with it and kind of view, you know, the $60,000 as a form of energy, which is all money is. Money is a form of energy. And I said to myself, and I put this intention out there, that if I've earned that money, it'll find its way to me. And so basically walked away from this company, didn't go after them legally necessarily, and, you know, wasn't after the money because I know that their heart wasn't malicious. You know, they just made bad decisions, and sometimes that happens in business. And, you know, I did have a choice on where to focus my energy, and my energy was focused on bringing new energy into my life, you know, bringing a new business into fruition. And I started my own functional medicine clinic on my own terms. And, you know, it's been the best thing that's ever happened to me. So it's been an amazing journey. And, you know, I know what it's like to find $20 in your drawer and just get really overjoyed. And I know what it's like to give away $20 and help overjoy other people. So been on both sides of the fence, and it's great to be able to report from the side of the fence where we're giving now instead of wishing for money to come in. We're able to, you know, help and support other people. And yeah, it's just been an amazing ride so far. And I could, you know, my story is very lengthy if I go into all the nitty-gritty details, but, you know, that was, you know, really a defining moment for me. And it's a story I tell quite often. So I appreciate you bringing that up, because it gives me a chance to show people that, hey, money is energy. If you've earned it, it'll find its way to you, and it's not always going to pay up right away, right? So that $60,000 didn't just show up in my bank account the next day, but it's more than found its way back to me, and it allowed me to stay in my purest intention. And when we're staying in our purest intention and in our highest frequency and our highest vibration, then we can attract the things that we want into our lives as well. So it was quite the journey. My wife, I'm sure, would tell a slightly different story because it was nerve-wracking for her. But that's my story, and I'm sticking to it.
And you know what? I've heard you say it again and again and again, and I just love how you reframe it today, because looking back, whatever the stressors were, it was probably, no, let's not say probably, it was a multi-million dollar, if not billion dollar, and you like the word trillion, possibly dollar lesson, which is so beautiful. But let's just segue to Organo real quick. So I'm guessing you're an influencer, you know a lot of people, you've got a great presence. Maybe someone sampled you, I don't know, a while back. And so do you recall the first time someone introduced you to Organo Coffee, who it was, what happened? Tell me about the follow-up. Tell me where that went.
Well, I mean, there's not much to say because I had somebody drop some off, and, bless his heart, I think he had good intentions, but he just didn't have any follow-up or follow-through, and dropped off samples and said, hey, try this and see what you think, and actually never followed up with me, never asked me if I enjoyed the taste, never asked me if I, felt any benefit from the product. And it was actually somebody who I was friends with. So I don't know what the disconnect was there, because he wasn't a total stranger to me, but there just wasn't that follow-up. In fact, it wasn't until you followed up with me, which was many moons later after that, that I really got introduced to Organo. So, the fortune really is in the follow-up. And that's something that even myself, I need to continue to improve upon, because there's always ways that we can continue to, reach out to people and follow up with people, because we can help them with this product. And that's the thing, is like, if we've got something that's powerful and can be of service to people, then we must at least help them understand what the products are and what it is that they do. And, initially when I got the products, since we're, kind of sharing that story, is that I didn't know what reishi was. I had no idea of the rich history of reishi. So although I got these beautiful sachets of product, I had no awareness of what reishi could do and what its medicinal and, spiritual benefits were. So, I just kind of thought of this as a novelty coffee that tasted great, by the way, but I didn't really understand the true magic that was, hidden within it. And so that explanation wasn't delivered either. And I feel that there's such a story that this product can tell, that it goes far beyond how people feel. There's such a rich history to it that, it's something that does need to be shared about this product.
I want to really drive this point home, because I don't know that I've told this story, but someone sampled me as well. Someone dropped off samples at my office. I never tried them. That was a very costly mistake for that individual. I had just a joy-filled, empowering weekend in Colorado Paradise, with Blue Diamonds, the Nielsen's, Stephen Nielsen, Deanna Nielsen, Miss Casey Nielsen-Martin. Phenomenal people. When they were sampled coffee, they never followed up. That organization, I don't think the Nielsen's would mind me saying, has crossed $40 million in sales. That sampled into that 40 million, but the person that sampled it didn't collect a penny. The person that sampled me first, I didn't try it, but they didn't collect a penny. The person that sampled you didn't collect a penny, and collectively, those organizations are epic. But I want to lead into something else, because, there's no doubt that I followed up with you, but what created me being connected to you was a phenomenally plugged in Miss Diane Solano, who's now Diamond, and she created events. That's the event that got you there. But let's just talk about, leverage. So what would you advise people? How can they somehow plug in to other people's network? Because you're a master of it, because you're influencing, I'm going to say easily, millions for a positive health direction. How do you leverage that? How do you advise people to do it?
Well, I think the key is you've got to be excited about the product itself, because if people can see you're excited about something, excitement is contagious. And also you've got to be consistent. So I've been consistently promoting the benefits of reishi, and we incorporate it into our protocols. It's one of our secret tools, if you will. So we incorporate it into our clinical practice. We incorporate it into our online presence and strategy. And what's really fascinating to me is that some of the people, you'll be surprised at influencers, because many of them don't actually understand network marketing. And in fact, at one point I didn't fully understand it, although I've tried. I believed in the concept and the principle, but it wasn't until I went to GoPro that it really clicked for me. So I've always, appreciated what network marketing can do, but it wasn't until I went to GoPro that, I really understood the mechanics of it. And I saw, my God, like, why are so many people leaving this opportunity on the table and not fully leveraging it? And so a lot of influencers get pitched network marketing companies all the time because other people see the opportunity in them, but they probably don't do it correctly. Or it's also because the influencer doesn't understand the mechanics of network marketing, or maybe they've tried something and it didn't work out. Maybe it wasn't the right product, maybe it wasn't the right time, and there's a variety of different reasons. And so what I found for me is that, get excited, be consistent, and not just a flash in the pan and somebody who just gets excited about the next greatest thing. Because some influencers like that, it's like a wave. They're just constantly, there's new material that they're putting out there and they're changing their tune and song. So being consistent is going to be very helpful. And then, when other people see that, for me, my mental philosophy, the way I operate is maybe a little bit different, unorthodox. I'm always saying, get so good that people can't ignore you. So be so good that people can't ignore you. Be so excited that people can't ignore you, and be so consistent that people can't ignore you. So that was my secret. And then I had influencers actually approaching me. They wanted to know what was up. They wanted to know how they could get involved. And so it was actually the reverse. Instead of me approaching influencers, I just stayed consistent, stayed excited, and I made sure that I shared this product with as many people as I could. So there was a buzz about the product, and influencers were then attracted to it like moths to a fire. So I think it's a little bit of a different strategy than going after people, but just being that person of influence. And that there's a mantra that I kind of realized. I learned this from Barbara DeAngelis, and she said that, and she learned this from her guru in India, and he said, in life you can be the flower or you can be the bee. And so I try to be the flower, and the bees come to you, versus being the bee that buzzes around, and its entire lifetime makes about a half a teaspoon of honey and dies in 6 weeks, right? The flower, if it's a perennial, will keep growing year after year after year, will be there forever. But the bee, wears itself out and, has very little to show for it at the end of that 6 week lifespan. So, be the flower, be attractive to other people, be consistent, and that's going to really pay off in the long run.
Beautiful. And I want to talk about a few paradigm shifts and cultural shifts. So, Organo is an epic company, and they have been since the very beginning. And we've had the right leadership in the right place at the right time from the very beginning. And we have a new wave of leadership at the top with Mr. Paul Caldwell. But there was a time when it was more or less discouraged to go to an industry-wide network of marketing event like GoPro. And for good reason. The people that were recommending that, their experience was that people were being recruited. Now, they have a strict no recruiting policy. But when my leaders asked me, Bob, you bought 100 tickets, you put $40,000 on the table, and you're taking 100 people to an event where people can recruit them away. And my reply was quite simply, I'm not worried. I know what we have. We have the best company. We have the best product. We have the best compensation plan. We have the best industry. We have the best leadership. We have a patented competitive advantage. And if they want to go, God bless them. I wish them well. But your time, all of our time is so incredibly valuable. But even for a dollar and cents point of view, your time is among the most valuable time that any person I know. So what was said to you that got you to a destination event? You paid the money out of pocket. You traveled. You went away from the family. You went away from your business. You paid for airfare. You paid for a hotel. You paid for meals. Oh, and by the way, you took team members too. I want to know, how did that happen? How did you get there? Because events are epic, or they can be.
Well, I decided, because my time is so valuable, if I'm going to spend, months or years, decades developing a business, it makes sense for me to spend 2 or 3 days doing as much research about it, whether it's coming from a place of skepticism, which it wasn't. So I didn't go in as a skeptic. I went in as a fan of network marketing, but now I wanted to be strategic so that, if I could spend 3 days, which is 1% of my year, to make 99% of it more effective, that's how smart people think, right? That's how millionaires think. That's how people who are successful think. They're willing to invest 1% of their year, which is 3 days, 3.5 days, to make the rest of it as successful as possible. And so that's how you have to think. If you're on this call, you're investing your time. So how will the rest of this week become better because of the hour or half hour, whatever we end up going, was spent? What did you learn? What are you writing down? What are you going to take home with you? How are you going to apply it? And I'm always open to this idea, Dr. Bob, that one sentence can change everything, right? Just like in life, one moment can change everything. I'm open to the idea that one sentence, one conversation, and it may even be with the most random person. It may even be somebody who I had no intention of meeting. Could even be somebody I met in the elevator. I'm open in every moment of that possibility of that sentence changing my life. And so, if you want new opportunities to present themselves to you, you've got to meet new people, right? And if you want to learn new things, you've got to learn it from people who've been doing it for many, many years. And I've never been to Vegas, believe it or not. Organo was the first time I went to Las Vegas for GoPro my entire life, and I loved it. I actually had a really, really good time. And in fact, I went back for the UTX event again. So, since joining Organo, I've been to Vegas twice.
So tell me about UTX, because I can say I was born at my first event, and my first event at the time was called Project 50K. Now, it turns out Diane Solano was born at her first event, and I don't know if you were born at that first event, GoPro, but I think your numbers suggest something really good happened, because I track them. And here's a tip: track your top 12, and if you don't have 12 yet, track who you have, and plug into those that are plugged in and willing to grow, and everything is nourished in time and blooms in its season. But now let's go to UTX. So GoPro is industry specific, but very, very generic, whereas suddenly we get to UTX, which is specific to our company. Something happened there. Your numbers took off. Do you consciously know what happened, or what happened at that event for you?
There was one sentence that really struck a chord with me, and this was at GoPro that Eric Worre said, and I use this in a lot of my presentations that I give now, and that was that if you had $100,000 in your bank account earning you 6% interest, you would make $500 a week off of the interest. And so that's pretty substantial when you think about it, because most people don't have $100,000 in their bank account. And even if they did, they're not earning 6% interest on it. But if you were making $500 of residual income, it was the equivalent of that much interest. And so if you 10x that, which of course that's when it gets exciting, if you're earning $5,000 of residual income every month, that's the equivalent of having $1 million in your bank account earning 6% interest. And I said, wow, that's pretty cool, because I know it would take many years to earn $1 million, right? I mean, some people can earn it in one, I understand that, but it would take the average person many, many years, to earn and save $1 million. That means you can't spend it, right? So if you spend it, then there's no more interest coming in, even if it's at 1% or 6%. But if you've got it coming in every month, it's the equivalent of having that much money in your bank account. And guess what? You can make more the month after that, and more the month after that, and more the month after that. So it was pretty cool once you start doing the math that you start to realize, wow, this makes a lot of sense. So here's the magic formula, whatever that number is, whatever your paycheck is from Organo, multiply that by 200. That's how much money you would have in your bank account earning you 6% interest. So that starts to put things in perspective for you, that it's not just $500, it's not just $1,000, it's 200 times that amount would be required in your bank account to make that kind of residual.
So when we were at UTX, and by the way, when we were at GoPro, we always had the meeting after the meeting. And you shared that with our group, but somehow, some way, you have a way of sharing where people get it. Now, I'm sure it's got to be conviction. I'm sure it's got to be posture. But you're also a profound word master, wordsmith, and one sentence can change your life. Let's just talk about words for a minute, because I think to date you're the most selective person I know in terms of words, and you're helping me to be more so as well. I remember I think I've only used the word unbelievable once or twice since you and I had a conversation. Or we might even say, wow, that's insane. I don't know that that's very attractive, or that's incredible.
Right.
And but you reframe that for me, and I believe it helps you plant seeds in people that bloom a lot faster. So let's just have that conversation for a minute. Tell me about words, what they mean to you, how you've cultivated such a mastery of language without making it complex.
Yeah, super easy actually. There's a concept called cymatics, and I'll share that in just a minute. But really, the English language, for those of you that don't know, is actually very semantically incorrect. It's actually one of the most poorly designed languages. It takes a lot from like Greek and Latin and other languages and kind of puts it together. It's also what I call a slave language. So if you don't know how to use the English language, it can be weaponized against you. So a lot of times the words that we are saying, regardless of our intention around the word itself creates a vibration. So the word incredible vibrates at a certain frequency, and it doesn't matter what your intention is, the vibration doesn't change. And so the vibration that we create through our thoughts, the brain is essentially an antenna, but also a vibrational, generator. So it generates frequency. It's a frequency generator. Our throat box, our vocal cords are also frequency generators, right? So I can literally, if somebody's sitting here, or even if somebody is sitting at home on this call, I can use my words. I can vibrate air to vibrate, this microphone, to vibrate their eardrum, to then change their biochemistry. Our words are actually very, very powerful. I can say certain words to somebody and completely change the chemistry in their body, what neurotransmitters, what hormones they're producing, where blood is going in their body. I can change all that. And I actually demonstrate this when I give workshops. I'll be like, watch this. I'm going to make this person's face turn red. And I just put them on the spot. And guess what? The words I use changed their chemistry in their body. It changed where blood was going to their body. So our words are extremely powerful. So the words we use, we want to be extremely careful with, because if we're saying a word and it actually means the opposite of what we're trying to say, we're going to create the opposite reality. So for example, if I say, hey, you got to go see this person, they're incredible. Well, what's the opposite of incredible? The opposite of incredible is actually credible. So we want to actually say the opposite of what we're saying. The other thing that's interesting about the English language is, I'll give you another example. And, I critique people's websites. It's one of the things I do as part of my coaching business. And whenever I see a sales page that says, buy now, well, that could also be interpreted as buy now, right? Same words, but different, different connotation, because the word buy actually could mean three different things, right? Same vibration, but could mean three different things. So if you've ever tried to teach a child English, you start to realize how strange and how semantically imperfect the language is. And, part of me believes that that's done with intention, because those who can master the English language can actually master their destiny. One of the reasons I became so good at understanding semantics was because I took computer programming and coding in university, really in high school and university. And one, period that's off, one bracket that's off, one semicolon that's off, one statement that's off, completely crashes the entire program. And so every single character had to have an intention. It had to have a purpose. And you got more marks for writing the code in as short as code as possible. So if your code was this long, right, let's say you got an 8 out of 10. If your code was this long and it got the job done, you actually got a higher score. So I realized by using coding as a platform that if you could figure out how to say the most, if you could convey the most amount of information in the fewest amount of words, but you could use those words strategically with surgical precision, then you could get a message across very effectively. And so I became really good at that. And actually, I believe I get that skill from my grandfather. So it's a superpower that he installed into me. And, I don't realize it as a gift until people like you pointed out. And I've been told this over and over again. And just in the last, 2 years, I've really stepped into it and realized, okay, this is my gift, this is my talent, and I need to double down on this. So, words are my jam. And so what I tell people to do is I tell them to watch a video. And if we had a video up, I would show it to you. It's called cymatics. And cymatics is basically how vibration changes matter. And so imagine a black speaker with a black plate on top of it. And on top of that plate, we have sand. And we turn that speaker on, which vibrates the plate. And as we change the frequency, we start changing the way the sand orients itself on the speaker. And so it's these beautiful patterns that start emerging. But what we notice is that as we increase the frequency, we start increasing the complexity. And we know that from science that everything has a resonant frequency. So the words that we use can resonate matter. The thoughts that we have can resonate matter and actually create our reality. So our words become our world. And I know that many people have said this, like Wayne Dyer, right? So he talks about how the words you choose actually create the reality that's going to present itself in front of you, either in this moment or in future moments. So how we use the English language is very important for our overall well-being, and not just in organo, but in every area of our life. I mean, communication is what separates us from all the other animals, right? There's animals that are taller than us, there's animals that are stronger than us, there's animals that live longer than us, there's animals that can swim faster, run faster than us. But what these animals can't do is they can't communicate the way we do. So it's our duty as a species to learn how to master that skill, which separates us from all the other animals on this planet.
You know what, and I'm going to watch that video again, and again, I'm going to encourage everybody else to do it too, because you'll come to realize the power of frequency, the power of thought, the power of intention, the power of love, the power of our brain, the most complex and therefore the highest vibrating structure on the planet, and therefore giving us such phenomenal capacity. But you helped me with a profound paradigm shift. So the first event that we did together, it was a great bit of networking by Diane Solano. You had a bunch of doctors come in and you were teaching them how to be successful. And she said, well, can we get Dr. Bob some time? And you and I had a conversation, and I said, look, let's give them everything they want as packed as we can. And through in weaving the message of health, we'll also talk about coffee. But you had a brilliant idea. You said, look, let's take a mocha and let's get a volunteer. Let's have them drink the mocha, and they'll put on a continuous blood glucose monitor. Now, do you remember how much this person's blood sugar went up in 3 hours after drinking a mocha at that seminar? And do you remember the immediate effect on the audience?
Well, it had no effect on their blood sugar, which was shocking and surprising to all of us. And, just, really reaffirming how amazing this product is and how impactful it is on blood sugar. Now, here's the thing that, I don't want this to turn into a physiology class necessarily, but one of the greatest predictors of your overall health is the stability of your blood sugar. And so if we can give somebody a product that would normally, without the Ganoderma, I'm sure, have a spike on their blood sugar, if we can give that to them and their blood sugar stays stable, then that tells us about the blood sugar stabilizing capabilities of Ganoderma. But it can also tell us about the relaxing effects it has on the body. One of the hormones that we produce when we're under stress, or when our blood sugar is too low, or when we first wake up in the morning, for example, or when we get really excited, is cortisol. And so cortisol's main function in our body is to increase blood sugar. And so, the cool thing about that is that what this also tells us is that it didn't get that person super excited, because when people normally drink coffee, their cortisol levels increase. And so the Ganoderma actually has a blunting effect of the neurological system, so people don't get into this sympathetic dominance. So they have focus, they have mental agility, they have clarity, which they might get from other coffees, but what they also get with Ganoderma is they get stable energy. They don't get a crash, they don't get a huge, upswing. Their blood sugar levels stay stable, so they don't start craving things throughout the day. And also they feel alert and they feel focused. The other thing that happens when we're drinking typical coffee is, because it's so stimulating from a cortisol perspective, what ends up happening is we actually stop blood flow to our prefrontal cortex. So when we're excited, when we're in fight or flight, when we're doing certain types of activities that are strenuous or stressful on us, we actually send blood to our reptilian brain as opposed to sending it to our neocortex. So think about an example when you're under stress and you go through a situation and you say something or you react to a situation, and then when you're calm and collected and kind of reflecting on what happened, you're like, man, I wish I would have said that instead. And the reason you didn't say that instead, and the reason you're able to look back in hindsight and say, I wish I said this instead, is because your state of physiology is very different. So if I wanted to make somebody smarter, but I also wanted to make them have more clarity and less brain fog, then the Ganoderma products are perfect for that.
So networking gem here. So after that incredible, no, sorry, Sachin. Look at that. Old habits fade away slower than I want. I've used it 2 or 3 times since you, that phenomenal response, that epic response, that life-changing, game-changing response to a mocha actually resulted in 17 gold packs, if I have the number in my mind just right, signing up that minute, which almost took you in the top 10 in the world when you'd only been in the company a very short period of time. I think you finished 13 on last year's getaway. But here's what I want everybody to know. Diane Solano knew that there were challenges with the website. We had paper applications at the event. People filled out paper applications. You did a brilliant thing saying, okay, listen, we're going to prioritize in the system the people that start out in a gold pack. So that was a little bit of a mindset shift. But for our audience, the paper applications were then processed in order with the help of Organo, thank you, with the help of Vanita, with the help of Diane, with the help of Miss Kelly Rakowski. And I had a little bit to do with that as well. So the networking is, if you make it easy, just like coffee, just add water. If you make it easy, people are going to thrive more effectively. And as leaders, we need to make it easier. So your explanation of what just happened, even though I understand it deeper. So thank you for sharing that gift. Now this year, you're number 1 in the world. And number 2, I actually know number 2 really well. It happens to be Kelly Rakowski, right? And she's competitive and she's a beast of a networker. But let's just say you crushed number 2 and you led from the starting gun to the finish, and there was never, in my mind, a contest. You were so far ahead we couldn't even see your taillights. What happened? How in the world did you bring so many people into the business? If you could summarize it, or better yet, how are you going to advise people to do that? Is there a 1, 2, 3-step plan? How can people replicate your phenomenal success?
Well, in all fairness to everyone who's listening, and just this is something that stuck out to me as well from Eric Worre's GoPro, is that, in network marketing, you're rewarded for one of 2 things or both. First is who you were before you joined network marketing, and 2 is who you're willing to become. And so, I kind of came into this business with a pretty high level of influence. I had an event that I was hosting, so that's where, those 17 gold packs came on. People know, like, and trust me already. They're paying me lots more money than what a gold pack costs to coach them and consult them. And, as a person of influence for these people, whatever they see me doing, they usually want to do as well. And I encourage that, because if it wasn't a good use of my time, then I wouldn't be doing it. And so it wouldn't be a good use of their time either. So usually, because of that influence, it's a little bit easier to move the needle, because I am a business coach for practitioners. So that's one thing. And that's just to be totally honest and transparent, because I know some people may not have that same level of influence coming in. But here's the other thing. I actually know very little about the numbers. So I actually do not pay, even in my own personal business, and this is like, business 101, where the numbers and you crunch the numbers. But I'm living proof that doesn't always necessarily mean that you're going to like the numbers. And so one of the books that I read is called the Bhagavad Gita, and it's basically described as India's greatest gift to humanity. So if you haven't read it, it's probably worth reading. And there's a great version. It's called the Bhagavad Gita for Westerners, and it's written by Jack Hawley. So this is the book that I base my entire life in businesses off of. And one of the things that it says is you never attach to the fruit. And so I use nature as a metaphor for pretty much everything. And if you ask a tree how much it's going to grow this quarter. Let's say all the trees huddled around together and they say, okay, how much are we going to grow this quarter? Basically no way for them to know because they don't know what the weather is going to be like. But what they do know is they're going to grow as much as they can every single day. So whether it's raining or snowing or sunny, whatever the situation is, they're going to grow as much as they can every single day because guess what? When it's raining, the roots grow. When it's sunny, the leaves grow. So every day they're going to grow in whatever shape or form they can every single day. And so that's been my philosophy that I live by. I give my all, every single day. I put it all on the table. I do as much as I can. And I don't actually pay attention to the numbers. So that would be my secret. Now, I know there's a time and place. So today, I had to pay attention to the numbers. And thankfully I did, thanks to Kelly. So I have people. So here's the other thing. I have people in my life that pay attention to the numbers for me. So without Kelly, I'm sure, there would be not as much structure in my business. So I'm eternally grateful for her and for Diane and, just kind of nudging me, reminding me and saying, hey, this is what you need to finish up the month so that I can put my attention and focus where I need to. But, that's how I run most of my businesses. I'm just like, let's go all in every single day and see what happens. And then, if the result isn't quite there that we will want to see right away, well, that doesn't mean it's not going to bear fruit later on, right? So as long as we treat people with respect, as long as we leave the lights on and the door open, as long as we continue to, approach everything we do with the highest level of integrity and honesty, then guess what? It all works out in the end. So kind of a long-winded answer to your question, but my secret to success is just give it your all every single day and do your best every single day. That's all that anyone can ask of. And again, when it's raining, the roots grow. When it's sunny, the leaves grow. And if you just keep that in mind, then every day is a great day.
Every day is a great day. I want to finish up with 3 practical tips for everybody paying attention. And there's going to be many thousands of replays and shares. So we do a number of things. Number one, we develop a customer base. If no product moves, nobody gets paid. Number 2, we develop a business base. And then number 3, and actually we develop leaders, and leaders are born at events. So some people will say, well, let the event do the majority of the work. And it has in my life and in my profitability. So I want 3 tips. Number 1, how can someone move forward to share the product? Number 2, how can they move forward in their skill set to share the opportunity? And number 3, how can they get people to Unite North America August 16th in Orlando, Florida? Those are the big 3 that we'll wrap up with.
Okay, so those are loaded questions, but I'm going to do my best to keep it pretty concise. So the beautiful thing about this product, unlike any of the other products that are in my office at least, and perhaps even in your office, Dr. Bob, these products are easy to share. So super, super easy. Share it with as many people as you can. And here's the thing, people that know, like, and trust you, your friends, for example, they want to know what you're up to. I mean, if you're a person of influence, and that's easier to do nowadays, to be influential in other people's lives through their health, for example, then people want to know what you're drinking, right? They want to know what you're doing, because chances are, if you're drinking Organo, you're probably doing other healthy things, right? And so you're probably already doing a lot of other healthy things that can help your friends. So this is something that, you can share with them, just like you might share other things that you're doing with them. The nice thing about this product is that it does all the heavy lifting for you, right? Organo's done the heavy lifting for you in terms of sourcing the products, growing the products, packaging them beautifully, patenting the process, and then, putting them in these nice little packages that you can give away in single servings. So that makes it so much easier. Like fish oil, for example, doesn't come like that, right? And vitamins and stuff don't come like that. They don't always come, packaged so nicely. And keep in mind that people are already drinking coffee. So you have an obligation if, 60% of the population starts their day with coffee or tea, mostly coffee, then we have an obligation to make sure that the first thing that goes into their mouth is actually something that's healthy for them, that's nutritious for them, that's, going to increase their levels of consciousness and spirituality, because that's the other thing reishi is known for. It's a mushroom of spiritual consciousness. So, it's a very, very potent way to start somebody's day. And we can take something that is a habit and turn it into a ceremony. That's the other thing I love about this. We're putting health into a habit, but if you understand the ceremonial properties of reishi, it's actually now we're turning their daily habit into a ceremony for them. Getting people to sign up, here's the thing, you have a couple of options. One is you bring on distributors. These are people who are going to grow the business. These are people who are ready. These are people who have some sort of business acumen or are willing to put themselves out there a little bit. These are the type of people that you want to invest in. Remember, when somebody signs up for a gold pack, paying is the easy part, right? The easiest part is giving you the credit card information. That's not the hard part. The hard part comes after that. And so if they're giving you a difficult time getting signed up, right, and it's your idea and you're more passionate about it than they are, it's probably not going to work out in the long run. So what I suggest is, use your energy wisely, use your time wisely, and invest in those people who are excited to invest in themselves. My friend Joe Polish will say, sometimes when you're trying to push somebody up a hill with a string, it doesn't always work out, right? So you got to make sure you choose the people you partner with very, very wisely. Like when somebody signs up as a distributor, that's a business partner, right? So you have to ask yourself, if I were going to start another business, would I want to partner with this person? And if the answer is yes, then go ahead and do it. If the answer is no, then you might want to reconsider. And you might want to also give them option B, which is, hey, you can sign up as a wholesaler, right? That way they can enjoy the products. There's a much lower barrier of entry for them potentially. And guess what? That's going to be much less responsibility for you. So you can double down on those people who are interested, who are focused, who are ready to grow their business and take it to the next level. So I always look for how excited somebody is. And there's this comment that I made at a meeting recently that really struck a chord with people. It's, I don't work with butt heads. And so butt heads are people that, but this or but that, but I don't have this or I don't have that, right? So they're always coming up with buts. And the questions that people ask, I pay attention to them because then I know who wants to win and who wants to lose. And guess what? When people lose, they don't blame themselves, right? Losers never blame themselves for losing. They blame other people for losing. Winners lose sometimes. They take full accountability and ownership. And when they win, they will also take full accountability and ownership. And then, getting people to Orlando, I mean, it's Orlando. There's so many cool things to do there. So, you've got UTX, you've got hundreds, if not thousands of people that are going to be there celebrating. And, this is a company event. I mean, this is something that you should be at. You should be making this a priority. If you're serious about this business, which I hope you are, otherwise you wouldn't be on this call, you wouldn't be watching this call, especially this far into it. If you're serious about this business, then, take your family with you. It's an exciting event for the entire family. My son's going to come. He's 9. He'll be 9 at the time. So we're going to be taking him, to Disney World and not Disney World, sorry. We're going to take him to Universal Studios. I can't stand Disney World. But we're going to be taking him to Universal Studios and just tacking on a couple of extra days. And so have fun. It's a beautiful town. And, where else are you going to pay so little to get so much value, right? It's one of those places it's easy to fly into. It's very affordable to stay there. And then the other thing, too, is that the event is extremely affordable. And you're going to walk out of there with tons and tons and tons of value. I mean, I can't necessarily guarantee this, but I would almost guarantee that if you don't walk out of there with more value than what you paid, then something's probably wrong with you, right? I know that they're going to pack the house and they're going to share tons of value. You're going to walk away with super, super high levels of excitement. I know they've got some amazing announcements and offers that they make at these events. So you want to be there because it's going to be amazing.
I want to finish with just a few words, and there's a new term or a new phrase in our business, and it's been said many, many times. When we bring in a superstar that looks like they're going to light the world on fire, more than one person has said this phrase: "Wow, this person could totally Sachin this." So you're a verb, you're an adjective, you're a master, you're a guru. And you also have Sachinisms. So as we wind down this, we're gonna finish inside of an hour because some people have known it's phenomenal to go out on top and leave people wanting just a little more. I think if we were here for a long, long time, you'd still leave them wanting for more. But can you finish with a Sachinism? And I'm gonna officially sign off for my part in a second. Oh, by the way, massive shout out. You've connected me with so many great people. Gabe and Tiffany Roberts, your newest Sapphires, beautiful people, beautiful friends, and that's the best thing about this business is meeting people we probably wouldn't have ever met, and you have opened the door for me and my family to so many phenomenal people. So thank you, thank you, thank you. And what Sachinism do you want to wind down with tonight?
Wow. Well, thank you, Dr. Bob. And it's quite the honor to be, a part of your family, not just your OG family, but you've got a beautiful family. And I'm so grateful for, our continuous entanglement with each other is a nice way to phrase it, because we just become closer and closer. One of my favorite things to say, and I've got this hanging up in my wall, and it says that making money should never cost you the things that money can't buy. And so, most people, will sacrifice their health, they'll sacrifice their time, they'll sacrifice everything to make money, only to realize that there's no amount of money in the world that can buy back the things that are most important to them. If health was for sale, nobody could afford it. So, this is important for us to realize that making money should never cost us the things money can't buy. And it just helps us prioritize things. And I want to leave with just sharing what the 4 freedoms are for people, if I may, because it ties into this Sachinism really nicely. So the first freedom is, and they're not in any particular order, they're all important, is time freedom. And time freedom doesn't mean sitting on the couch, although it can. If you want to sit on the couch and flip through Netflix, that's fine. So time freedom. The next one is emotional freedom. So emotional freedom is how you feel doing the things that you do, okay? So time freedom is doing whatever you want, but then emotional freedom is how do you feel doing those things? And of course, is geographic freedom, which is you could be sitting on a couch in Cabo if you wanted to, right? Feeling amazing, right? And the fourth one is financial freedom. So ask yourself, when you're working on your job, when you're working in your business, when you're working on your organo growth, is what you're doing moving you closer to those 4 freedoms? Because most people's jobs are not moving them in that direction. In fact, they're moving them away from that direction. And that's what I love about this business, is that it moves me in all 4 of those directions simultaneously. So I love helping people. I love spending my time helping people. I love the emotions that come with helping people and serving people. I love being able to travel the world and see this amazing planet, which we can do through this company, thanks to the incentive trips and thanks to these events. We get to go to cool places. And of course, there's the financial freedom that comes with that. And here's the thing, if you can get 3 out of those 4, that's pretty damn good, right? But this company actually gives you the opportunity to have all 4 of those. And so that's what I love, and that's what I want to end with.
Happy, beautiful, amazing evening all. Thank you, Sachin, for all Sachinisms, for all wisdom. I'm already looking forward to our next conversation. I'm so glad you're one of my fabulous 5, and I hope I'm one of yours. Because I glean from your wisdom every single day. And you know what? I pay it forward. And I know that you are creating so many positive ripples in this phenomenal universe. I won't even call it the world. I'll call it the universe. So,
thank you. That means the world to me. I appreciate that. I'm going to sleep really, really well tonight based on this amazing, interview. And, it's just great to know that we're going to be helping hundreds, if not thousands of people through this process. So thank you for the opportunity. Thanks for not giving up on me, because I know that there were several follow-ups, and I appreciate you having that persistence and that tenacity to recognize something in me that I probably didn't see at the time. So thank you, thank you, thank you.